Hello YouTube, welcome to RV Daydream. My name is Mike and Heidi is on location today, so she can't be here. Location, I mean her job. She's working. So I'm going to follow up on a review that I did on a backup camera system from Haloview.
What have you been up to?
I've been riding on a daydream.
What this is a backup camera system that was provided to me by Haloview. Now, I've done a review on the previous system that they offered, which is an MC7108. In that review, not only did I go over all the components, but I also went over a complete installation, including the locating of the camera and the wiring of the monitor and all the concerns that you may have whenever you're putting it on your RV and truck. What I'm here to do today is show you the latest product that they have, and that is a backup camera system just like the one before, with one big difference. It's HD. It is in HD quality. Now, the previous system, as I mentioned before, again on that other video, is a 480p, which is a DVD quality. I never had issue with it. I don't have any issue with the quality. I can see everything just fine. It gives me a really good picture, and I've never had any problems trying to figure out what something was in the picture. You can pretty much see everything. However, this one jumps up to a 720 quality, and of course that's now in the HD range. Much better, and we're going to see basically how much more we can see with this new system. So let's jump right into it. Alright, just like before, I want to make sure that it's perfectly clear that I was sent this to go ahead and talk about it just like I did the last one and show the installation. I'm not paid for this, and I'll give you my honest opinion on anything that I may come across that seems a little shady or might be an issue. As far as the last one's concerned, I haven't had any issue with it except what I just mentioned about the signal dropping off, and again, that has a lot to do with the way that I placed it. I should not have placed it probably as back as I did, as far as I did, down on the RV. But even with that said, it works just fine, and it's just a random drop off. It only happens like when we were going through Chicago, I had some issue, but it only took, I don't know, maybe 2 miles and it cleared itself up. And again, you can buy an antenna to fix that. But if this one is going to hold up to the old one, which it's supposed to be better in every way, that problem may not exist even with the position that I currently have it at. So what we have here is an MC7108, again from Haloview, and this is going to be a single camera and a single monitor. However, the monitor can actually be connected to more cameras. You can buy additional cameras, and they will all wirelessly connect to this monitor. They just sync themselves. So let's go ahead and open this up and take a look at what is included, and I'm sure it's going to be just like the old system. The other thing that I really like about this system is that it has a low power mode, meaning that whenever there's not any action going on, basically when you turn your vehicle off, that the camera will go into a low power mode so as that it doesn't wear down your battery prematurely. Quite honestly, even at full power, it's not like it's a big drain, but you don't want that drain on the entire time whenever you're not using the camera. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it looks an awful lot like what the old one does. There's some camera specs here. This is a 30 frames per second, and of course you see it's a 1280 by 720. That makes it an HD. There's a lot of other information in here as far as power and all that. I'll hold this here for a split second. If you want to freeze your computer and take a peek at it, you might be able to get an idea of what is in there. And these are a lot of specifics. Some people like to know that stuff. And then, of course, the user manual, very basic, explains the same thing that I talked about before. Positioning the camera is very important. You have anti-static pad, and here you have the monitor. Yeah, a lot like the old one, except this one only has a single antenna. My other one has a dual antenna. That's interesting. It does have a place for an SD card, a micro SD card, because this is a security system. This thing will continue to record, and you can leave it parked for hours and in case somebody backs into your RV or backs into your truck, if you have it hooked up to constant power, it's going to record that. It's going to store that information. So it's kind of nice. It's a DVR. Basically, that's what it is. It's a DVR. Now, as far as the connection for the camera, pretty straightforward. It's just a little tiny multi-pin connector, just a twist connector. That's pretty easy to do. We'll pull out the camera next, since that thing's kind of sticking out here. And again, this is going to look a lot like the camera that's on the other system, but one big difference, you know, this is going to be a higher definition. There's infrared lights. It's got great night vision. I love that. And if you look at this little tiny hole, I don't know if you can see that, that's for the microphone. Yep, this thing will capture sound. Now, what that comes in handy for is whenever Heidi and I are backing the RV up at the RV park, I can turn it up, and she just has to say, hey, you're back far enough. Hey, turn this way. Hey, turn that way. She's not yelling. We have radios for that, but it's kind of nice that it also allows us to do it through the camera. Of course, here's the antenna. There's a couple of them. One's going to be for the camera. One's going to be for the monitor. Then we have the wiring system, and there's a lot of tricky stuff going on with this wiring system, and don't be afraid of it. Basically, you're just going to use a couple of these connectors. You're going to use the power connector, and you're going to use the ground connector, or the ground wire, and then all these other ones are for auxiliary things if you want to do it this way. And basically, these are triggers. And what this means is, for example, one of them could be where if you put on your left turn signal, if you have a camera looking down the left side of your rig, an individual camera for that, when you turn on your left turn signal, it'll automatically display that camera on the monitor. And if you turn on your right turn signal, that will trigger a different camera if you have a camera specifically for that. And then, of course, one's for the backup, if you want to just have it come on whenever you're backing up. I mean, there's so many different ways to do this. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to hook it up to where I can turn on this monitor, and when the vehicle's running, the power is to the camera. When the vehicle's shut off, it turns the power off. I don't have multiple cameras that I can do that with, except for maybe the backup. Alright, next you have a small adapter, and what this adapter does is allow you to power your monitor. And remember, if you don't want to hardwire any of this stuff into your fuse box or underneath the dash of your car, you don't have to. All you need to do is send power to this monitor, because this monitor connects to the camera wirelessly. You power the camera, you power the monitor, and that's it. The way that you power the monitor then is with this adapter, and I love this. You just plug this in, then this gets plugged into the monitor, and then this gets plugged into your power port or your cigarette lighter. And at that point, when you want the monitor to come on and the camera to connect, you turn this on. And when you want the camera to disconnect, you turn this off. Now, the thing is with the camera is always going to be powered for the most part, if you want to set it up that way. Or you can set it up that it comes on with, you know, tail lights like I did with the camper. But like in my truck, my camera's always powered on. The thing is if this camera does not see that it's connected to this monitor because the monitor has been turned off, this camera goes into that low power mode automatically. Great feature. I really like that. Now also, again, you can do the hard wiring, but you also get the wiring then for the camera itself. Real basic. Black is ground, red is power. You plug it into the camera, you mount the camera, and you're done with it. Now, as far as all this other stuff, there's one thing here that's kind of nice. It's the shield, and this shield, of course, goes over the monitor. This is a sun shield. You can see there, just clips on, helps out with the glare, if there's any glare going on. And then something else that they offer, which is pretty decent, is this metal. This is a soft metal that can be bent with 3M tape to allow you to mount this on your dash, so as you don't have to drill your dash for the mount. That's a really nice thing to have. Oh yeah, I also wanted to show you this. This is the bracket that you can screw, you know, overhead into the upper part of your roof of your RV or of your truck, and then the monitor connects to it using these wing nuts. Or you can mount it, to your dash. You can screw it directly to your dash. But again, I like this much better. We're going to go ahead and try to get this installed. I want to see the quality of this thing, what it's like. This is the system that I've been running and has done a really good job with everything that I needed. I mean, as far as the view, I know that I'm shooting this with a camera, but the view is really good. I mean, there's really nothing that I can't see, and at night it's even better. It does a really good job. However, as far as the HD system's concerned, it's going to step up the quality. And the monitor, you can see, is really just the same. It's identical pretty much in every way. So what I'm going to do in this case is just disconnect this monitor from the mount, which in your case is going to be different anyways. You can mount it pretty much anywhere that you want. Again, you can mount it up on the roof here and have it hang down, or you can screw it to your dash. But I used the mounting pad that was included, and it's held up really well. And it just, is a thumb screw or a knob that's on the back that you loosen up to remove this from the dash. So as far as your power options, real basic. You're going to run it to your fuse panel. You're going to tap into a positive wire that's energized when the key is on. The reason that I say that is I don't think that you want this monitor powered all the time. Even though you can turn it off just like that, if it's powered on all the time, these lights come on. There's a display that comes on. It's kind of a bright blue thing. It's a nighttime display. I don't really like that. I like to be able to turn that off. Not hard to do. Anybody that can do any kind of wiring can do it. And if you don't feel like doing that, again, just use your power port. My power port's taken up. I've got extra power ports over here. Even those are taken up. So I have 3 power ports over here. I've got one here, and I've got my cigarette power port, and they're all taken up with stuff. So I don't want to put any more in here than I have to. However, I could, if I wanted to, power that monitor off of one of these in here, because it would be real easy to do. So let me go ahead and hook up this new monitor. That way we can get to the quality part. I really wanted to see the difference here. I am going to connect this camera, though, to the back of my RV. So we're going to be up on a ladder doing that. And I'll talk about positioning of the camera and how important it is. Hey guys, there it is in all its glory. We're on the back of the RV now. And this is the position in which I've had this thing mounted since the very first day, and I've hadn't had any issues with it. It's done a good job, and honestly, I didn't expect it because I have it so far down lower than the roof itself, but the signal's been really good, and it's held up really well too. I get a good vision as far as what I'm looking at back here, and I really like the fact that I can see pretty much everything that I need to behind me whenever I'm parking up close to something. Now, just one word of advice here. Make sure, again, you find what signal works best before you mount the camera. You got to do stuff like I did in my last video, and that is position the camera where you'd like to mount it, put the antenna on, put power to it, but don't mount it. I mean, even if it's temporary power, if you have a little 12-volt battery and you want to try that, do it that way. Then at that point, you can get in your vehicle, you can turn on the monitor, you can sync up to this camera, and then once you sync up to it, you can check what your vision's like, what you're seeing, and if it's what you want to see. Some people like to see further out. Some people like to see the traffic behind them more. I like to see the traffic behind me, but I also like to see real close to the bumper too. So I know the way I've got it set up now that I'm about 2 feet away from whatever object starts appearing in the camera screen. That gives me a good idea how far I can back up. And I suggest you do the same. Again, check my previous video on that. The link is going to be down in the description, as is the link for this system. And I want you to take a look at everything that I did during that installation. But right now I'm just going to try to swap out this camera and get a good idea of what the quality is going to be like. Now again, since the power connections are the same, upgrading the camera is not going to be a big deal. Same with the bracketry, same with the sun shield. All that's going to be easy to do. So let me go ahead and get into that, and we're going to get an idea of what this thing looks like. Whenever I took the bracket off, this is what it looks like underneath, and these are the holes that you have to drill in your RV also. Not so much the screw holes necessarily if you have self-tapping screws like I do. it's probably best that you don't drill those initially, because those sheet metal screws, they need to be as tight as possible, because that's what they're, you know, going to be holding on to, is the sheet metal. But basically this wire here is provided in the kit, and this wire goes into and connects to this light right here. And I've got it set up that when I turn on my lights, it powers the camera. I figured I always tow with my lights on. Why not make it to where it's easy for me to get power to this camera? It doesn't need very much power. Now, if you want to, you can route this wire into a positive always hot system, but I'm not going to do that, because it would require me to run extra wiring all the way across here and down into this area. I'm not going to do that. It's too much work. Now, I'm going to reuse the bracket that I already had, because it's just like the new one. Now, you want to push your grommet into the bracket, because that provides a real nice seal. And then you just plug it into the power port right here, which we'll do, and then feed the wiring in, and then basically screw this bracket to your RV. And then that's it. Then you'd have to adjust the camera. Again, before you drill holes in your RV, position the camera where you think it's going to get the best signal by testing and finding out if it's the correct view for you, if it's going to be protected from like wind and rain when you're driving down the road. That's not too much of an issue. The main thing is you want to make sure you have a good signal to the monitor. So that's going to be you testing it out. Again, I know I'm rehashing this over and over again. Check my video that I did prior, so you can get an idea of what needs to be done to get that alignment fixed and figured out. Okay, so I have the new camera mounted, and remember from my previous video, I talked about the wire and the way you should loop it so that water runs down the wire, not into the RV. Plus, you can put some silicone up in this area to keep it from allowing water to go into the RV. And then, of course, all this butyl tape does a pretty good job. But you can put a bead of silicone if you want across the top. I'll do that afterwards. But it's mounted right now. And the most important thing I can do at this point is check to make sure that the power is good, and that I've got a good field of vision here. And then I'm going to have to play around with it and see what the best setting is, so I can see the ground, so I can see so far back on my RV. All right, so you can see the picture here, and I know that, again, I'm holding the camera up to it, and I don't know how much is going to come across in the camera's view, but a very good picture, good quality. You can see the blades of grass there. You can see the ditch. You can actually see up in the corners here the other side of the ditch. That's about 15 foot across, real close to that. We'll go back and look at that in a second. But I want you to pay attention to this tape measure that I have laying out. The tape measure, this edge right here, that's 7 foot. That's 7 foot behind the RV on the ground. However, here in the bottom of the vision here of the camera, you can see the top of my step ladder, and you can see the little painter's tray or the tool tray that's attached to the ladder. And it's, you know, just barely in view. Well, this board is laying on a cinder block that is on the ground, and the edge of the board, this front edge that is just barely almost out of frame on the bottom of this monitor, that's exactly 2 foot at bumper height. That's an important thing to know, is how close you are to something when you're backing up. I don't want to be any closer than 2 foot to whatever it is I may back up against. You know, again, we'll show that back behind here and what it looks like, but this is the view that you have whenever you're backing up or if you're driving down the road. This gives me a good compromise between seeing traffic that's behind me. Again, we're going to be anywhere from 7 to about 21 feet behind me. And then you can see the angles in which it is. I mean, this goes out quite a bit. I don't know exactly what the range is from left to right. We could measure that out. We might be able to find that out also. But as far as the definition, it's definitely more clear. I think I could read license plate numbers a little bit better. But let's run to the back of the RV and show you what it looks like back there and why I set it up that way. Again, the ditch is about 15 foot across, and that's in addition to this 7 foot. So that's going to give you a pretty wide range of being able to see traffic behind you. Again, we'll try to get a side-to-side comparison here, but here's my bumper simulation. Just picture this to be a bumper of a car that's parked behind you, and you're trying to back into a real tight space, maybe at a Flying J or a Pilot. Maybe you're backing in at a truck stop and there's a tractor trailer behind you. I want to definitely leave 2 foot of room between my RV and whatever I'm backing up against. And this is a pretty good gauge. Make sure that you set it up higher, because if you check 2 foot on the ground, it's completely different. That camera would have to be pointed down even more. But the most important thing you should be concerned with is what your bumper is going to hit. And at bumper height, we're at 2 foot there. So the camera, the way it's set up right now, you can see it's pointed relatively straight down, and still giving a pretty good range, not only down but back. And then I have that sun shield tilted to where if there's any glare from sun, like there currently is, I mean the sun is at a weird angle right now, it's blocking it off the lens. It's keeping the lens shaded so you get a pretty good view. So as far as side to side, let's see what kind of angle you can get as far as traffic's concerned, so you can see what's on either side of you at, let's say, 7 foot away. We'll stay at that 7 foot mark. I want you to take a look at the monitor again. Sorry, you know, this is with the handheld camera, but it's so much easier to do it this way, for me at least. What you're seeing there in the corners of your monitor, over here and over here, are 2 antifreeze, or I'm sorry, washer fluid jugs. Basically, that is 7 foot back from the RV, and that is 9 foot in either direction, 7 foot back. So pretty good range. So now I'm going to move those jugs forward, and I'm going to come up about 4 foot, and we're going to see how wide the camera's angle is at that point. Again, this is helping for passing. You know, as I'm driving down the road and I decide I'm going to, you know, on the highway, and I decide I'm passing around a slow vehicle, once I see, you know, the car, which is represented by this jug, I know that in the middle of my screen, if I see a car that's on the edge, then I am 7 foot past him, and he is 9 feet away from the center of the RV, or just a couple of feet from the edges. It just gives you an idea, you know, when you're safe to maybe turn on your turn signal and let that guy know, hey, I need to get over, I'm passing you. And, you know, maybe when the car is then back here somewhere in the screen in the shot, you know, he's quite a ways back. You can then go ahead and get over and not have any concerns. So let me move this up a little bit closer and see what the angle is at 4 foot. I tried to do this one a little bit differently. What I did is from 4 foot back, that's the 4 foot mark on the tape measure right there, from the bumper, 4 foot back and 4 foot out, down the edge of the RV. You can see this is pretty much down the edge of the RV, because the RV is 8 foot wide. Same here. It is pretty much down the side of the RV. I want to show you what that looks like on the camera, because this will let you know how close you are to cars, you know, in real time. And again, these are things that you should be doing with your RV too, with this camera. And you can even put little tape marks on your monitor with measurements to help you out, so you know, hey, I'm 4 foot past that car, and that's what it looks like. And you can see it's still got a really good range. I would have to say that we could go 7 foot in each direction with how much is left here. This looks like 3 foot to me. I think that might be a pretty good measurement. So 4 foot out, you know, you could see as wide as 14 feet across. That's really good. But this represents how wide your RV is in the monitor. And you know, that also lets you know that it's pretty much centered in the camera. I mean, I have equal distance in either side here, and it helps out knowing all this stuff. Again, when you're traveling and you get in some really heavy traffic and you've got to go around obstacles and even backing, this will let you know how big your RV really is and what you need to be paying attention to. I'm really happy with this system. And again, the quality is much better than I expected. I know that we jumped up from 480 to a 720 picture, but I just didn't realize how much clearer it was going to be. Now, a lot of you guys that are watching this video, you might be interested in this system. Again, the link is going to be down below for it. It will come with a single camera that you can hook to your RV. Or if you want a double camera system, you're going to have to buy that camera separate. I'll also put that in the link. Also, down in my description, I'm going to have the original video link for the installation that I did on this truck, on the RV, and on my son's van with the initial system that I was given by this company. It's a good system on its own merit all the way around. It's going to be a little bit less money than what this system is, but these things are very reasonable. I mean, their comparison, the models that they're going after are $700, $800 for a single camera system. And they're supposed to be, you know, market quality, top of the rung, but I'm finding that this one is doing extremely well. Like I said, I've had absolutely no issues with it at all, except for that signal drop because of the way that I mounted the camera a little bit too low in the back. And even then, it's not bad. It only happens occasionally. And I want to be clear, I can fix that problem. All I have to do is buy an extension antenna, and what that does, it will take and allow me to unscrew the antenna that's on the camera currently, screw on a cable that has a magnetic base antenna, a little antenna, and place it up on the RV's roof closer to the truck and where there's no obstacles, and that signal would be solid all the time. And again, for a complete full-blown installation of the system, I'm talking damn near every step of the way. Check out my previous video in the link below, and of course I've already put it up above here somewhere, so you can click that link too, or click the little I in the corner. If you like this video, click like or subscribe. If you want more notifications every single time I post a video, click the bell. If not, YouTube will just tell you occasionally whenever I put up a video. If you click the bell, you'll get notified every single time. Hope this helped you out. Again, this is a Haloview MC7108 high definition one camera system that'll allow you to see what's going on behind your RV as you're driving down the road. I appreciate you guys watching, and as always, we hope to see you out there. Bye.